Adel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to go straight to the point. When you open the website, innovation in additive manufacturing and beyond. What is additive manufacturing?
Well, put simply, it's the process of making objects, parts, additively, meaning in a way, layer by layer. So instead of going the traditional way where you remove material, well, you add material slowly until you get the full part.
So what does that mean practically? Give us like a concrete example.
Well, practically, you just use the material that you need. You don't have to start from a big block and carve your way out all the way to the part that you need. Another thing is complexity. It comes for free. You basically only need to design and press print, and ideally everything goes well, and you get your part in the end. So it's basically enabling print on demand. So saves resources, reduces time to make parts, and really it's a great all-rounder to create prototype. And these days, it enables faster to market entry because you're able to prototype faster and make your parts immediately available to your clients.
Design and press print. So we're talking 3D printing. And maybe out of curiosity, why did you get into this as a mechanical engineer? Was this a logical, natural evolution, or were you into this? Was it a passion? Why 3D printing?
It's funny because the first time I got exposed to 3D printing, I was in, I think, my third or fourth year of engineering degree, and I had to do a presentation about manufacturing methods and things like that. And so I really, from the day one I started doing research, I fell in love with the process, just researching and exploring. After that, I started working in the startups and I started working in the aerospace industry, and this always came back. I was using this tool a lot. And that's where it all started. I fell in love, and I guess I could never go back.
How mature is the 3D printing industry? For people who don't know, is it still new? Because I've been hearing about it for years, but
Hmm.
it's not like I see it everywhere I go. It's just if I look for it, I'll find it, but
Mhm.
it's not everywhere.
You'll see it more and more, I'm sure. The technology has been existing since the 80s. It's so old. It's
Wow.
just that the patents expired and people have started using it more and more, and you're starting to see more open source projects. And so you see the effervescence of new projects, new products.
And so for someone who's worked in the an aerospace company for about 8 years,
Yeah.
and then you leave and then you start your own company. So
Yeah.
why did you think that this was a good time to start your own business?
I guess the moon aligned, the stars aligned. It really came up to this unique opportunity I got to move to Japan. So I'm currently calling from Japan. So I was working as a lead R&D engineer, and I've been using the tool and I always had these ideas, these interesting things I wanted to do. And I decided to start a company kind of on the side, not working full time on it. Then this opportunity came, and I was like, okay, that's my chance. I can finally, unleash my dream and work on this full time.
So what is Torem Labs? What do you do?
So Term Labs, I'm gonna start with the name. So when I was doing research back then during COVID times, because that's when it started, it means creator in Latin. So I want to enable anyone or any entity to create things using 3D printing because I believe there's so much potential in 3D printing. And so the goal of Torem Labs is advancing additive manufacturing and its applications.
And what kind of projects are you working on? And by the way, I love the fact that the name actually has a meaning because nowadays a lot of companies have these random names just because, it's unique, but I appreciate the depth in it. So what kind of projects are you working on?
Many projects, so I said manufacturing, additive manufacturing, meaning the machines, and its applications, meaning products and services using 3D printing. So it's kind of the two things I'm advancing. On the 3D printer side, I have a patented system. We can talk about it more, but it enables uh, progressing or speeding up the efficiency of 3D printing. And on the other hand, I'm working on maybe one or two projects in parallel to relating to needs that I thought would be interesting. One of them being urban farming, vertical farming.
What kind of material can you use in 3D printing? Because I love the concept that you can imagine anything and it will be hyper efficient because you'll just build exactly what's necessary. So you'll probably reduce weight and other stuff like that. But is it as strong as, the traditional material that we're using? Can you really put anything in 3D printing? Can you elaborate a bit on that topic?
Yeah, I'm tempted to say that you can 3D print anything out of any material, but that's not necessarily true. The technology is progressing, but it's definitely advancing, and you can print more and more materials. So there's actually a whole field in that, in just looking at the materials. Um, when we think about strength, of course, it depends on the process, it depends on the raw material, it depends on the post-processing. There's a whole bunch of things, even pre-processing, before the printing, after. So yes, it's the same or sometimes better, depending on how you actually manage the materials.
Okay, and how how much expertise does it take for one to actually design and print? Is it like a click and it goes, or do you have to require some kind of experience of design, or certain softwares you need to know?
It depends on what you want to do. If you're more on the artistic side or, a hobbyist playing with toys, it's getting easier and easier. You can literally pay maybe $10 per month to access any CAD software like a SolidWorks Maker or even Onshape. They have great platforms for hobbyists to get started and learn. So it's really easy. And nowadays with AI, soon enough, you're going to be able to just talk to your computer and it's going to design it right in front of your eyes. But if we're talking about more advanced stuff, aerospace and advanced polymers and all kinds of things where you need to design a part for a certain purpose, well, you need to be an engineer to do that.
What about the physics-based aspect of it? So what I mean is weight, type of material, degradation over time. How do you prove and test a 3D printed part?
That's interesting because, even before 3D printing existed, you had tools to simulate, you had tools to calculate. So you can always do it the traditional way. And then you have to prototype it, and that usually takes a lot of time. Now, this prototype length of time is much shorter. And I'm not saying don't bother simulating. Of course, you can simulate as much as you want, but you can test it right away. So you can test the same way you've always tested your prototype using, engineering methodologies to know what your material is like, how it's going to react to different forces and all those things.
I feel like prototyping is a big one because
Yeah,
I remember recently I was watching something about car parts. And when they actually build those cars, like those prototypes, it takes them a long time. Like they really try to rebuild it and, with specific material. But I feel like with 3D printing, you can just immediately have something of various sizes. How big can 3D printing go? Is it like unlimited? Like give me an example because I imagine it like a small box and I 3D print something because of the videos I've seen. Can you actually
yeah.
do something big?
There's so many kinds of machines, like you have so many kinds of cars. You have your SUVs, you have your K cars, all kinds of things. So the biggest machines are literally robots moving on platforms, and you can build even platformless. Like the lines are getting blurred with what you can do. I've seen a video, a research paper about drones 3D printing. So technically, the world is your printing platform, and you can 3D print things as small as a toenail or anything. So the the universe of 3D printing is so vast and it's expanding, and there's so many different areas that you can explore based on your interests.
That's just fascinating. I'm just thinking about the opportunities, thinking about building houses, building, here I'm thinking like big, but you mentioned as small as a toenail. So you could actually be doing microscopic
Yeah,
3D printing. Is that
yeah.
something that happens today?
Yeah, of course, of course. Microns in width and length. Actually, the electronics, the chips, is some kind of 3D printing. The same technologies are kind of applied, but for a new purpose. So basically, it's reusing the tools in a way that enables you to build 3D objects.
Mm. Okay, this entire conversation is super fascinating, especially that's for someone who's not in it. But let's go back to starting your business. So, what has been the most challenging part? Because being in a company after a couple of years, you're comfortable, you know what you do, they know
Mhm.
what to expect from you, but then you start your business. What has been the
Yeah.
most challenging part?
It's a very lonely world, I guess. If you don't have a team, if you don't have a partner, it's very, very difficult. So I think
Yes.
finding the right people to work with is the number one challenge I currently have.
Do you have a co-founder?
No, and I'm looking for one.
So, did you consider, like in the beginning, maybe reach out to different people, or did you just have the courage to just get this started and see how it evolves over time?
At first, I thought I could do it when I was still innocent and young. Um, then I found, I don't know if you heard of Y Combinator's co-founder matching program. So it's a little website on Y Combinator, which is pretty well known, and they have a little matching page for you to find a co-founder. So I went through that. It was interesting. It's basically like dating. You try to have a few dates, maybe you make a few projects and you see if it matches, and then you go on from there.
Dating for co-founders.
Yeah.
And so what exactly are you looking for in a co-founder? What are the skills that you think are complementary to what you have?
Yeah. So I'm come from the technical side. I build stuff, and delving into the business aspect is so difficult for me. The sales, the client relations, understanding the users and their needs, that's something I've never done before. And getting to learn about it and then having to apply it is just another level. So I need someone who's kind of experienced in that and that can tell me what to do so that I can also help him. So help each other in that sense.
And besides the loneliness of not having a co-founder, do you have a team with you, or is it like solo for now?
No, I'm still solo. I'm still solo. Right now, I'm under contract in Japan, so I have the opportunity to work full time by myself, but I'm slowly, aiming towards a future where I can have a team and do stuff a lot faster, a lot better.
So what are the next big milestones you're looking forward to?
So next big milestones is related to the application, 3D printing application of 3D printing, which I was mentioning, vertical farming. I'm trying to do events here in Kobe and try to gather a few people's, get their feedback because I'm building the prototype and the prototype should be ready pretty soon.
That's awesome. Adel, if someone wants to get into 3D printing, what would you tell them? How should they get started?
There's tons of videos online. So many people doing so many things. Even people have starting their own business around 3D printing. It's so interesting. Just watch, on Instagram when I go on, it suggests me all the time the 3D printing stuff, and it feels like it's never ending. So first, understand how the technology works, understand what the different companies are doing. Torem Labs is a bit different from the other ones in terms of the people it's trying to attract, but there's companies like Mabu Lab or Prusa, they're doing amazing job with connecting with people and showing them how it actually works.
Do you feel like your mechanical engineer background combined with your now expertise in 3D printing gives you an edge on competitions and differentiates you from other 3D printing companies?
Right now, I wouldn't say so. Not yet. I would, mm, maybe more of my research and development background, this very technical aspect. It gives me kind of a competitive edge in terms of new projects, new ideas. But since 3D printing started from prototyping, this is already something that a lot of companies already do, even in open source projects. So I guess my biggest strength is my multidisciplinary kind of. skills because it's not just about mechanical engineering, it's also about software, it's about electronics, combining because 3D printing is combining all those facets to be able to print to use something. It's the virtual world coming all the way to the physical world. So I think managing all those things in parallel is what's interesting.
Adel, I'm going to end with this. How do you feel about the technology and the level of knowledge that the average person has in terms of 3D printing? And do you feel like in the next couple of years, it will become a lot more popular and used in way more fields than it is today?
I think it's definitely going to be used more, but there's a big challenge to overcome. And I think that's a social predisposition to what 3D printing is. People think 3D printing is cheap parts, plastic always breaks, but that's just so far from the truth. So they have to finally see with actual products that they can use every day, kind of separate themselves from that idea that everyone has, most people have about 3D printing. And when that moment passes, I think the sky is the limit.
Adele, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.